So hello, it's the dog. I came in here to make a recording, and I realized the man's moved the washer and dryer into my recording studio. I had it in a closet in a very spacious, large, it's like a utility room. I created a little, it's my recording studio. So now that I could talk, I could progress and make vignette-esque chapter entries into the novelette we had constructed. But, now you have to do it over top of the washer and dryer. And that's real wonderful. That's going to be good for business. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I just do the best I can. I tell you, it's like a bunch of bullshit. If you ask me, it's like bullshit. But, and I'm getting fed up with all the bullshit, Like, here's a case of bullshit. We're watching something together in the main parlor room on the old square, big, giant box television set. And it's a little fuzzy, but the colors are vibrant. The man has the colors tuned in very vibrantly. But we're watching court TV. And the thing, I'm just like the man. Once football season ends, I'm like anything. And I was like, I'll watch anything. But once football season ends, it's killing me. And, I'm looking at a lot of platforms. And I was a big Netflix man. I have my Netflix, but I'm searching. It's like I'm mining, rare earth minerals, trying to come up with a show to watch on Netflix. You're wading through a massive amount of material. Whereas on the other hand, I find myself enjoying HBO Max, whether it's, the Larry David or the Larry Bud Melman, or if it's, the guy from Secession, or we could watch the Larry Sanders Show. So a lot of good things on HBO Max. With the new Magic Johnson bioc, or whatever they call those bioc things, where they have a lot of series of the new Magic Johnson and the guy, that got the job instead of Will Ferrell, Dr. Buss. But we're watching, when we're not watching HBO Max, and if you watch, we've watched Secession. I mean, what are you going to do? Watch it twice? I'm watching that soap opera twice. So we're watching court TV, okay? We're watching court TV. Somebody comes up and then knock on the door. We've already had fisticuffs a fight not too long ago, so I don't think it's strange for the man to be weary. But he does this bullshit move. Instead of watching court TV, we were watching a little segment of Donnie Depp. So Donnie Depp, and he's getting sued by Elizabeth Hurd. So Johnny, we're watching Johnny string a bullshit, a bullshit story. He's singing a bullshit tune. But it's kind of interesting, to watch Johnny. But, we get there's a ding-dong, there's a doorbell. And that doorbell in the manor house it's opulent. It's an opulent doorbell. And the doorbell rang, and the man jumps up like he's, oh no, now what? And he quickly flips on the Milwaukee Bucks game. The Milwaukee Bucks are playing. I don't know who they're playing. I couldn't even tell you. They're beating the Chicago Bulls. And, Azama Nama Nakuko, he's doing phenomenal. And the other guys that play on the team, they're doing phenomenal. And they look like they're going to be repeat champions. But we weren't watching basketball, And now when he has to have somebody come to the door, he flips the basketball game on. Like, I don't want to be caught doing court TV and watching Johnny Depp. I want to be, I want to make it look like I was watching Asamaka Fanaka Makuku and his phenomenal team, and he's a great champion. He's the next Bill Russell, perhaps. Who knows? It could happen. But, and we love him. We love this, the Greek freak, he's like A to Z, we say, we can abbreviate A to Z. He has all the letters in his name. But, we're not watching this, so why would you flip it on? Why are you putting on the airs? It's a bullshit show. And then the man, whoever the man was talking to, that man, he leaves, and he comes back in, and immediately flips back on the court TV, and on we go with Johnny Depp. And let me tell you something. From my perspective, I was enjoying it as, high art or performance art or whatever, but Johnny Depp is a bullshit artist, and that's the medium he works in. He's that kind of when he's being himself, you're like, if this is yourself, I don't think so. No one talks this slow. He's like a slow talker. He's like hitting one word at a time, like he's so thoughtful or introspective. Gosh, the washing machine, you can't make a good podcast or novelette entry if the washing machine is going to sound like a waterfall. That gets tough. But, Johnny Depp, he's slow talking, and he's got the, one word at a time utterances, and he's got that accent, that accent, like the Madonna English accent. Where'd that accent come from? Where was Johnny Depp born? I don't know. It sounds like he came from a long line of Puritans someplace up in Massachusetts where they pronounce every word correctly and they pronounce every syllable. At one point they say, how do you become an actor? He says it was an accident. I'm saying on accident. It even threw like another half a syllable in there. I can't even replicate it. But it's that full syllable pronunciation like Yankees do. And then he tries to endear himself to the public. He says, I was making $1,284 when I got a show, and he was on a Nightmare on Elm Street or something, and he said he says the $1,284 was a lot of dough. And I'm like, who's that line for? A lot of dough. First off, if it's Leave It to Cleaver or Leave It to Beaver, I Love Beaver over here, the old show in the 50s with Hazel. That back then that was a lot of money when you were making that money. It's not a lot of dough today, so let's not be obnoxious. Plus, we don't call it dough. We haven't called it dough for a while. But he's doing that. He was saying he had left the music fraternity and now he was in the acting fraternity. And he pronounced every syllable again. It's like he's doing Madonna English accent, kind of phony baloney Yankee thing, and he's pronouncing every syllable like I don't know what, like an English teacher from Cape Cod, Rhode Island. Nobody wants to put up with this kind of stuff. But the other thing he was doing was so full of bullshit. He was saying how glad it was that that he didn't become, inundated. He did not become. He's glad he's still not used to the celebrity because it would have changed everything that he was, and he wouldn't, But the joke is, hey, Johnny, you are the biggest bullshit artist in the world. It didn't change you. It must have changed you because you couldn't have been that big of a bullshit artist back then. If all you are is a greater bullshit artist, you're still not changed, But they went on to to discuss somewhat, in his deposition. I was sitting there on the couch watching it with the man on the court TV, and he says he won't. Then Johnny says he won't to. He won't. And I said, is he trying to say he wants to? He doesn't want to. He won't. We couldn't figure it out. But he won't to. He stuttered. He got stuck on won't to, and he said won't to about 5 times. But it was getting to the point where he was going to say he didn't want to let the success of foster his music career. He didn't want to do a bastardization of his, would-be famed music career because he was a musician, and he didn't want to use his fame to become a teen idol. Like, you weren't trying to become a teen idol on 21 Jump Street, whatever, But he didn't want to he had too much respect for music to make himself the next Greg Partridge and do the Partridge Family thing. He didn't want to, have too much, bastardization and foistering his music career on the back of his, the acting career that he fell into. But, he did go on to say that acting is like a behavior. It's reacting. And they have to do on-the-job training. And it's the only way to do it. And I thought, that's cogent. I can accept that from Johnny Depp, But then he went on to say somehow he worked in Platoon, and he worked in the name of the guy who made the Platoon, the most overrated director in the history of the earth, Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone, the most horrifyingly overrated, whatever. But, you could tell right away he starts, like even slow talking. Johnny Depp, he starts slow talking and pronouncing every syllable in the Platoon and Oliver Stone. And then the lawyer's like, hey, okay, nobody wants to hear about Platoon and Oliver Stone. We want to hear about the Pirates of Caribbean. And the lawyer says, yeah, okay, about what's up with the Pirates of Caribbean? Johnny starts talking. He's like, I want to tell you all about Oliver Stone, the master film auteur, and how I went to work for him. And she's like, yeah, good, that's great. Tell us about Pirates of Caribbean. And everybody was like, hey, Johnny, sorry she cut you off. You were about to tell us something really introspective and deep about Platoon. Sorry we missed that. But the lawyer, she knew better. She guided him to the pirates, and he starts talking about how he wanted to become a Pirates of the Caribbean guy in honor of his daughter, whose name he never mentions, and he can't get her age right. He starts out at 1.5, and he works his way to 3 3/4. He's like, I think she was 1.5, and by the time it's like 3 3/4, because 3 3/4 fit the timeline he needed. He started watching cartoons with her maybe when she was 1.5 years, and then, when he left her to go make Pirates of the Caribbean, she was at 3 3/4. But whatever, He never says her name. He says my little girl, And like if they know you have a little girl, they could kidnap her. If her name's Sarah, that's not going to help no kidnapper. So you could say her name like you cared, like you knew, like it was on the tip of your tongue, like you're so proud I have to utter my daughter's name. No, she's a little girl. A little girl. The little girl I watched cartoons with, what I'm talking about. That's how we did it back in those days. We just watched the TV. My form of parenting was I stayed blotto and the kid watched the cartoons. But whatever, it's okay. But then Johnny goes on to say, that he wanted to mesh cartoons with live action parameters. He wanted to have parameters that were based on cartoon characters, so he would have the availability of everything that the cartoons could do, that he could do in real life, in the movie. But really you're talking about like he's a weirdo. He wants to feel like he's such an elitist. He's such a holier than thou. He's such a big celebrity. He wanted to see what kind of freaky deaky freak show he could get involved with and not get in trouble. That's what he was talking about. He wanted to just see how far out he could get before they had to reel him in for his own good, and he wouldn't even get in a lick of trouble. That's what he was really saying, And no one, and he, because he was describing the characters, and one of the things he's saying, these characters that can live this life and no one asks any questions. Everybody willingly suspends their disbelief. Everybody's, so I could become a big-time elitist. I could be separate from everybody else, so I could do as I please. That's kind of what I was talking about. I don't want to put that across. I was a lot of dough. I was making a lot of dough in those days, so I was an everyman. But what I really want to say is, I was wanting that so bad, that suspended disbelief, because, you've seen The Disaster Artist. Johnny looks into the courtroom. He says, "You've seen The Disaster Artist?" Well, I'm kind of the bullshit artist, and it's based on egotism. And it's based on my desire to believe that I'm somehow so elite and so different. I don't operate or function in the plane you exist in. You're Unterman, and I am a great, fearsome, whatever. But in reality, Johnny had to finally admit, he says, whatever. The reality is, it's really just I'm a bullshit artist. I'm a bullshit artist. But whatever, it's okay. I hope you find it in my favor.